January 1952. The waters of the Florida Keys were calm that evening. The sky was clear, the ocean quiet, and the small fishing boats drifting through the channels looked no different from any other winter night. For one young couple visiting from Canada, it was meant to be a simple outing. Just a quiet fishing trip under the warm Florida sky. But before the night was over, one of them would vanish. The boat was still there. The sea was calm. But Mrs. Lemay was gone. No witnesses. No struggle. No body. Only questions. And the deeper investigators looked into the story, the stranger it became. "21-year-old Huguette Daoust Lemay was from Montreal, Canada. Friends described her as lively, charming, and full of promise. Before her marriage, Huguette had even gained attention locally after becoming a semi-finalist in a Montreal beauty contest. She was young, admired, and had an entire future ahead of her. Not long before the events that would make her name part of an unsolved mystery. Huguette had married Georges Lemay, a fellow Canadian. The newly married couple decided to take a trip to Florida. The warm weather and scenic coastlines of the Florida Keys made it a popular destination for travelers escaping the cold northern winters. For the couple, it was supposed to be a relaxing getaway. But on the evening of January 4, 1952, everything changed. That night, Huguette and Georges went out together on a fishing trip in the waters near the Florida Keys. Exactly what happened next is known only through the story Georges Lemay later told investigators. According to him, the two had been out on the water together when, at some point during the evening, Huguette disappeared. Just like that. Gone. There were no other people on the boat. No nearby witnesses who saw anything unusual. The sea itself was calm, with no reports of storms or rough waters. When Georges returned and reported his wife missing, authorities were immediately faced with the troubling question. How does someone simply vanish from a small boat, without leaving a trace? Local authorities quickly began searching the surrounding waters. Boats scanned the channels and coastlines of the Florida Keys. Search teams combed nearby areas while volunteers joined the effort. The disappearance quickly drew attention, especially when word reached Canada. Huguette's brother, Raymond Daoust, traveled from Montreal to Florida to help search for his missing sister. Determined to find answers, he joined authorities and volunteers in combing the region for any sign of her. A reward was reportedly offered for information that could lead to her discovery. But the search produced nothing. No body. No clothing. No sign that she had ever entered the water at all. Days passed, and the mystery only deepened. Then, just when hope seemed to be fading, a strange report surfaced. A hunter claimed he had seen a woman matching Huguette's description in the Everglades area near 40 Mile Bend, some distance from where she had disappeared. The report sparked immediate interest. If the sighting were true, it meant that Huguette might still be alive. Search teams quickly investigated the area, hoping they might find her wandering lost but safe. But once again, nothing. No trace of the missing woman was ever found in the Everglades. And with that, the last promising lead faded away. As days turned into weeks, attention slowly began shifting toward the only person known to have been with Huguette when she disappeared. Her husband, Georges Lemay. Investigators questioned him about the events of that night. But without witnesses or physical evidence, there was little authorities could do. Georges maintained that he had no idea what had happened to his wife. Perhaps she had accidentally fallen into the water. Perhaps she had slipped while moving around the boat. Or perhaps something else had happened entirely. But no matter how many questions were asked, the truth remained elusive. Eventually, with no body and no evidence of a crime, the case began to fade from the headlines. Another unsolved disappearance. Another mystery left behind. But the story did not end there. Years later, Georges Lemay's name would surface again, this time under far darker circumstances. In Canada, Lemay eventually became involved in serious criminal activities and was later connected to organized crime and high-profile robberies. His life after Huguette's disappearance was marked by violence, crime, and notoriety. For many who later learned about his past, the revelation cast a long shadow over the events of 1952. Some began to wonder whether the truth about Huguette's disappearance had been hidden from the very beginning. Had something happened on that fishing boat? Was the disappearance truly an accident? Or had the real story simply never been discovered? Over the years, several theories emerged. The first and simplest possibility is that Huguette suffered an accident. The open waters of the Florida Keys can be unpredictable, and even a small slip could have resulted in someone falling overboard. But critics of this theory point out that no body was ever recovered, and no clear evidence suggested such an accident had occurred. Another possibility was that someone else had encountered the couple on the water. Could Huguette have been abducted? Could another boat have approached unnoticed? Yet investigators never found any witnesses or evidence supporting such an encounter. The third theory is the one that continues to linger in the minds of many who examine the case. That something happened on that boat between husband and wife, and the truth was never revealed. But without evidence, the theory remained only speculation. More than 70 years have passed since the night Huguette Lemay disappeared into the darkness of the Florida Keys. No body has ever been found. No confession has ever been made. And no definitive explanation has ever emerged. The waters where she vanished still flow quietly through the islands and channels of the Florida coast, hiding whatever secrets they may hold. For now, the fate of Huguette Lemay remains unknown. And somewhere within the archives of unsolved mysteries, her final moments remain lost to time. Now the question is, what do you think? Is this an abduction or cold-blooded murder? Do you think her husband has a hand in this mishap? Let me know in the comments. Until next time.